and gentlemen, I don't want to. All right, that was very good.
Any questions?
We'll do
Oh,
the
definitely.
questions
Oh,
when
sorry.
they're
Yeah.
finished, when the next
Okay.
panel is finished, because what happens, we get all involved, and then the
We
next
missed
panel.
time, yeah.
Okay, so our next panel is Mr. David Stevens and Dr. Joseph Medved and Ms. Aarti Deshmukh, and they are from Lehman College. Did I leave anybody else? I'm sorry. And Ms. Lee Millman. Okay.
Much. Yeah. Thank you all for coming. I very much appreciate it. I'm David Stevens, Manager Web Services at Lehman College, and you introduced the rest of the panel, so I won't go into that. But what this presentation represents is a pretty ambitious project that's been underway at Lehman College over the past really 5 years. It's been evolving. Under the direction of our CIO and VP, we've been building quite a bit internally, as well as using best of breed tools, numerous technology innovations, and deploying them for our college. But what soon sort of emerged as the need to really integrate these systems into a unified enterprise solution. And that includes not just within our own IT division, but really cross-institutional. So we have enrollment management managing our CRM tool, Hobson's. We have an example of our campus life group using an external application to manage their internal events and their groups and clubs. So these are just two examples. Of course, we have CUNY first. So we have these shadow systems and silos really sprawling all over. And what we find is that from a student point of view, or really any stakeholder we have at the college, it becomes a very difficult, sort of unruly and somewhat unmanageable process. So we have tried as best as possible, and slowly but surely this is starting to take shape, of bringing these shadow systems, silos, mobile, cloud, our website, our mobile app, which we'll talk about, and our data as a major part of instructing these efforts into a strategic, unified, federated technology architecture. So let's get into this ecosystem defined. What we're really talking about, as I mentioned, is really is taking applications sprawled all over our institution, cloud services, web services, mobile solutions, and data and internal applications, CUNY first, all this. And I'll tell you, do I have my phone? No, my phone's there. So my prop is gone. But where we're finding is all these roads are really leading towards mobile devices. So we've sort of embarked on this effort of doing a federated approach that's as much as possible authenticating with one username and password, bringing these data sources through various means, XML feeds or RSS feeds or web services or what have you, into our mobile app, which we'll show at the very end. Why are we doing this? Is really aligning the college's messaging, brand, and providing personalized notifications to students in support of fundraising, recruitment, retention, and graduation efforts, right? And the key operative word, I think, is data-driven. So you guys mentioned some of that with the Google Docs, and we need that too. And we're really data-driven on quite a mature level, thanks to our application database group. So we have business intelligence tools and predictive analytics that are also instructing intervention strategies with students who may be in jeopardy of having courses drop financially or academically. Some of these predictive models can literally predict which students are susceptible to this, and the intervention happens with traditional email through our CRM tool, but now more recently through push notifications on a cell phone. So we have a mobile device where we can grab alerts from CUNY first, and the federation happens where each department could be registrar, it could be financial aid, or whoever it is, can actually get the EMPL IDs and push these notifications out on the device. It's very powerful because you get badges which actually have the color numbers on the app that shows something important is here, right? So it's really an exciting innovation, and as I mentioned, really it's about integrating these silos and shadow systems into a unified enterprise. So this is I'm not going to go through this, but this is really designed, this is an hour presentation, so we're crunching this. And I'm probably close to being over already. So, but this gives you kind of a bird's eye view of the systems, right? And I think we all have similar systems. You know, we have our social media certainly system, our website, our Hobson's and CUNY First CRM, email marketing. We have a portal, we have a mobile app, our signage system, you know, IQ Smart Catalog. We have a media asset repository where we're managing videos, although they're housed on YouTube or Vimeo or wherever. We bring them into a unified environment. And the key characteristic of all of these tools is that the content is generated once and it lives in one of these environments, but it propagates out contextually to the mobile app or to websites or to social media. So we have a piece of content maximizing exposure and actionability of that content by developing it one time and then pushing it out to all these locations. And the other really key thing is that does us no good if there's no call to action. So the other thing we're leading toward is saying we got to have a call to action in those pieces of content so that we can lead the user to the next step. And I would get into specific use cases if this was an hour, but I'm not gonna, we gotta move this thing forward. So one example, I don't know, do people know that President Obama was at Lehman College? Yeah, I know, right, of course, right? Yeah, that was very exciting. So I thought, wow, it's being opportunistic. Now I'm gonna bake that into this presentation now. It's gonna be there forever. So that was our homepage screenshot of his visit, which was very exciting. So this is just a quick example of from just using Google Analytics data. We're going to get into deeper use of BI and predictive analytics later, but I'll just give an example of how we're using Google Analytics to drive website redesigns. So that really what we're talking about with mobile first design is the idea that ultimately, right, we have a lot of content on our website, but really there's probably 20% of it that people need. And how we actually extrapolate what that 20% is will largely come from Google Analytics data, right? The data doesn't lie. Where are people going and what are they interested in, right? But it's also, of course, the college's goals and initiatives, because there certainly could be websites built that are in line with the college's goals that haven't gotten the traction yet from analytics. So we also have to be cognizant of that. But ultimately this analytics data can really help us drive the redesign and make the website much more usable and useful for people. So that's a quick example. And then I mentioned this content syndication, and that's very important too when we talk about the ecosystem, because it's the idea that we want to generate content once, and it's hard to generate good content, right? It's not easy. So when we get a good piece of content like Obama's visit, we have to really exploit that. That's such a fantastic gift, really, for us. And so I'll give just an example. So how could we do it? We can have a simple, certainly we use Facebook, of course. And we got 1,000 engagements on our Facebook, which was unbelievable. It just spiked all over, likes and comments and shares, going crazy. So the idea is that, and we didn't really do this for the president's visit, because I think that the president's visit spoke for itself. But we could have said, you know, come to our beautiful campus today, or something as a call to action with that post. Because that post, if there's 1,000 engagements, you're talking about 100,000 views at least, you know, so maybe probably more, really. So you're talking about this piece of content getting maximum exposure, and then the key is you need a call to action in that content to really drive users to the goal. In this case, we could say, well, we want to use this for recruitment, right? So it's just it's all about content strategy and being strategic and using the technology to achieve the goals. So that's what this sort of enterprise. So we're going to get to the mobile app and how the data piece comes into play. So I'll come back at the end and talk a little bit about our mobile app initiative. So, but I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Medved to talk more about the data piece, business intelligence and predictive.
Well, David mentioned a lot. He gave you a general picture of what we are doing or what we're planning to do in the nearest future, what we're currently doing. And as he said, by the end, he'll get to the mobile computing and mobile analytics, which is very handy currently for our student population and very important. But before we get to this point, we had to do something with the data we currently have available to us. We have to organize it, we have to analyze it, and as David mentioned, we have to as much as possible predict what happened in the future. So those three main bullets shows you first you define the data, okay, and you all know the modern terminology. It's all big data now. Whatever amount you have, it cannot be small anymore. We compiling data from very well known to CUNY first, from all the other sources, and we're putting it in our data warehouse, and that's the beginning of the processing. Then we use two major tools, which is business intelligence based on Oracle OBI EE version 10 and 11, and we analyze data, we create report, and we create dashboards based on the data we accumulated. And the last one is the predictive analytics, shows you pattern of predictive scenarios, what's going to happen if certain amount of components will be satisfied, parameters I should say. And you'll see the examples a little later. Okay, continue with the first slide. That's what we came to. Those bullets shows you, first of all, what if you analyze your data, what happened in the past, descriptive, and what happened. You see, you have the data accumulated in your data warehouse, you run reports, you show your data in dashboards, and you see the status of data currently, what it is. Then you diagnose why it happened the way you got it in your reports. What was the driven power and this accumulated correlated data you got in your reports and dashboards. And the future, again, how can we predict what happens, what will happen, and you'll see that the prediction is actually so close to reality that sometimes we think we have the crystal ball. It's scary. And prescriptive, how can we improve what's happening in the reality and what we can see in our analytics, in our business intelligence tools. What do we do it for? You all know very well, we're all in the same college. Improve recruitment and retention. Revenue growth, of course, you know that almost every college is left alone now. Whatever you can collect, whatever you can accumulate, that's your money. Nobody's gonna give you anything anymore. Yeah. And cost avoidance, that's very important. As the previous presenter said, you have to use as much as possible which is free. You know, you don't have to pay for it. Our tools is not completely free, but it's not really that costly compared to the goals and compared to the results we're achieving. I think the return on the investment is really great. And the last one, I'll show you what will, we have two presenters here, Lee for business intelligence and Aarti for predictive modeling. And two of them will show you our dashboards and reports geared towards enrollment and retention, and what is likely to happen, you'll see with predictive analytics. And we're using Rapid Insight. It's a tool we're using to predict what's going to happen with our enrollment, admission, retention, attrition, everything else, which is extremely valuable and important in our day-to-day life. So here's the next presenter, Lee Millman. We'll tell you about business intelligence.
Hello. So this is the Lehman College dashboard. It's a reporting and dashboard system that we have developed for Lehman that has been going live for the past couple of years since our CIO and VP Ron Bergman came on board. What you are looking at is a dashboard we show for the level of VP, level provost, and the higher management, the president office, to show the current enrollment data along with retention data, along with the student, the faculty teaching workload. So the BI data, including all the enrollment data from CUNY First, from SIMS, also including the college budgeting expenditure data, the admissions data, the student got accepted, student get admitted, the student got accepted, student enrolled. Also the other small data point, for example, the public safety data, etc. So every day the user can log into the system and can see the current college enrollment data plus the other data points involved. They also can see the historical data that involved in the campus. So probably not very clear to you, so I'm just going to explain it briefly in here. So this is the college enrollment data very beginning. So comparisons between the current semester and previous semesters to give the user a very clear view where we are now if the enrollment start opening compared to where we were before when the semester ends on the previous semesters. And this part is the retention data, which I have another slide in here. To tell them on the particular cohort, the student, how they were doing along the way in the campus. And this is the faculty teaching workload data on full-time and part-time. I know for many campuses, this has always been a challenge to show the faculty teaching workload, because you can never merge the data. It will take time to merge data between the enrollment and also the expenditure, right? The expenditure telling you the full-time, part-time, what's the pay rate, what's the hours they work in the campus. Now the enrollment data is how many courses they're teaching, how many students involved in the course. In BI, the two data don't merge together, tell you the faculty teaching workload can be by faculty, by term, and by the department, or even by the school. So this is the retention data on that. You can basically grab any type of cohort students. The one we grabbed is the freshman students for fall 2011. We followed them throughout the following semesters from the 2012, 2013, 2014, etc. And we can see how many students dropped between the semesters, how many down the road can graduate, and how many did not graduate from the particular cohort. Before this kind of report can be done, in a couple of weeks, right, even months. By the time you receive the report, the data is already old. Now this data is merged together in the back end in the BI and the OBIE, and allow user to pick up any type of selections on the cohort and do the data analysis and to see why the students drop out from it. That's the thing on BI data. Very beginning, when people look at this giant application is, okay, we can create reports, we can create dashboard. The student need to see what's the number. Later on, when they see all the reports and dashboard on their mind, thinking, what can we use this data for? Can we use this data predicting what's the next semester we can have on certain group of students? What's the retention rate? What's the attrition rate on that? Okay, so after the dashboard had been going on for 2-3 years, we presented this to the users. Studying a particular cohort. We did this recently. We also did the 6 student cohort. We want to analyze the 6 students, which is pretty big percentage population in Lehman, to see how many students come in as a freshman, how many come in as a transfer, and between the freshman transfer, how many stayed in the campus until the graduation. How many did not stay. And SEEK also have a rule that they can only stay in the campus with 10 semesters with the financial aid. After that, they either don't get financial aid, you have to get special permission to get that. So during the semesters, you can actually analyze, and we can actually create a long report for them, how many semesters per student stayed in the campus throughout Lehman College. Okay. Before the data can bring to the dashboard, it's very difficult to get the reports like that. Now all these reports are in user's fingertip, and user be able to get access on it. And this is just a daily report we show to the enrollment office, also the admissions office and the other offices in campus, to show them the enrollment data on daily basis. So they can log in on any time during the day. The 805 data will be loaded to the system. They have a clear picture of where our enrollment are or were throughout the terms. Lehman is the first campus in CUNY has implemented the full load of OBIE application that allow user to see the dashboard and reports. And before, it probably takes weeks of days to creating report. Now certain report can be done within minutes. The user can do ad hoc queries very quickly within minutes, or the queries, the reports done by the IT group, and show to the user on that. So has become a very challenging road for us down when we first implement this, but has been getting pretty good feedbacks within Lehman, even within the CUNY campus. Okay. So next one is our predictive.
I just want to make a little comment. Usually when we have more time for presentation, we will show you in real time how the report and dashboard get created, but because of shortage of the presentation time, so if you're interested, you can approach us, we'll show you.
Yeah, you can talk after, you know, it'll be lunchtime after this, and so you can continue talking.
Thank you, Lee. So going forward from dashboards and current data, our VP also wanted us to push towards what's going to happen into predictive analytics. So we got a simple tool, a simple regression analytical tool, and that's how we got started. So we collect data. We started with started building attrition models or retention models for students. We are in process of building graduation model. So their possibilities are limitless, but we started with attrition models. So simple for attrition, what are the variables that are related to attrition? We started with a freshman, first-time full-time freshman cohort. So the variables that we thought were important were where did the students come from, how far do they live from the campus, their SAT scores, and we followed these students, as Lee said, we followed them from fall 11 to fall 14, spring 15. So we have been recording their credits taken per semester, credits earned per semester, so all those parameters we use for regression analytical tool. So at the end of this regression, the tool creates a predictive model, and that model same model can be imposed on upcoming semesters. So you can use the same model and impose and get the data from future semesters and impose the same model to get your predictive results. That's the idea behind predictive tool. So the way we built this model was our simple cohort of 454 first-time full-time freshman students, beginning from fall 11. As I said, we gathered various parameters of these students. The model clearly showed us the 32% attrition rate at the end of fall 2014. The best part of this was the model predicted that at the end of whichever semester that we're predicting for, it predicted that 154 students would attrit, and the actual data showed 146 students. And my VP always mentions that the students who were predicted, they were the ones who attrited.
100%.
100%.
100%, wow.
That's why I told you it's scary.
So, I mean, if the data is so clear, we can certainly take steps towards early intervention, and that's what we are working on our campus right now with early intervention tools like STEER. I don't know what other campuses are using, Glassfish, or I think, yeah.
Because that's a different side of the house for faculty.
Yeah.
We got faculty and all of this I know that our SDM people are talking about.
Sure. So this is the model. It shows the red bars are actual data, blue bars are predicted. So the data, whatever data you gather, it gets divided into 10 deciles. The first two are the most likely deciles. It's a step down model. And this tool is great because it gives you insights into some kind of some parameters that you never thought would come into picture of prediction model. For example, it gives you relationships between student earned credits or student attempted credits and attrition. So when we are building the model and when we were flipping through the screens, it clearly showed us that our part-time students who are earning less than 10, 12 credits, or who are attempting less than 12 credits, are at higher risk for attrition versus the full-timers. Other interesting things that come into picture are like students who were put on probation the first year they arrived, the first semester they arrived, they are treated at higher rate than the students who were put on probation in the in the subsequent semesters.
So can I ask a question about what
Sure.
you're doing? So from this, I think it was 2 slides ago, you just showed the red and the blue.
Yes.
Then with all the different variables that you've put in, can you actually kind of slice and dice it and just look at it for this group or that group?
Absolutely,
Can you do that?
absolutely. So you would build, the idea is that you would build model for your different cohorts. So you would build it for first-time, full-time cohort, you would build
Right.
it for your transfer cohort, and then you can compare the results
But
between
then
them.
you could look at just students who live 5 miles away versus students who live.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You can, the data mining that this tool gives, it's amazing.
May I ask a question also?
Sure.
Did you use a particular framework, like the PAR
You could
framework,
look at, you could narrow in on
to
just
develop
one
your
of them.
models? Or did you develop your models in-house? Or are you using
In-house.
like something like the PAR framework?
No, it's an in-house development. I mean, we acquired this tool. This is a desktop tool, but we built it in-house.
Oh,
So the model is really it's a mathematical equation. I'm sorry, this screen is too tiny. But the model eventually comes down as a mathematical equation, which gives you, this is my sample data, and these are the probabilities that model gives at the end of my prediction. And this is a valuable data. You can export this data and figure out, you can do various analysis on this based on the probability. So higher the probability, those are your likely students to attrit. Your Y parameter for this model is attrition. So, and this data you can figure out ethnicity, whichever parameters you use, but this is a valuable data. You can use it in Tableau or whatever other tools that you want and have more visual analysis. I think after this, I'm going to get back to David, who's giving you the mobile version of this.
Thank you, Aarti. Yeah, this part of the presentation that Aarti did is always the kind of big enchilada, It's just so much and it's so amazing. So the question then is, what do we do with it in the end, right? And what we've been building out is a mobile app, as I mentioned earlier. And I think the key things to look at with this is that, and think about this, is the personalization aspect of this. So there is an authentication that happens with the app. And then this notification, this number and this number, these are basically the personalized areas. And this notification component becomes really powerful, because if you think about the intervention strategies that can be gleaned, or the data that's basically indicating students that are at risk, you can intervene much sooner than you could otherwise, right? So there's a greater chance to do something about the problem, and that's of course great for revenue, of course great for students, and it helps our graduation rates and everything else. So it's clear, and this is so important because email is controversial, because in our campus, I don't know if it's true for you all, but we put everything but the kitchen sink in email, and the students are really getting inundated with these emails. They're also having some issues with passwords and all these kind of things. So email becomes it's not. I think we actually have data on email, and I don't think it's from our Hobson CRM, and it's not impressive. And we're losing, and students are frankly not being. There's not an effective communication channel to let the students know something critical is going on. So we have some decisions to make about what notifications go out. We're not going to be sending the cafeteria menu for the class, right? Or things like that. That's not going to go out. If you see a number in the notification, it means something. right? And it means it needs to take action. Again, I was talking about the calls to action. Part of the data sort of tables that we're going to build out with the database, which is actually what drives these push notifications, will include a call to action, so students have an actionable step immediately to take.
You must like get a bit political with some people being like, oh no, this is important. And you're like, I don't know.
Very much. Well, we haven't quite gotten over that bridge yet. So we did, but we're anticipating that. And I think we just need, we need to really, I think, it is, no doubt. But we got to make those decisions. And we have to know, when students cannot once think that they're going to be spammed. That's
Yeah,
it.
absolutely.
And that's the deal.
How do you get students to download the app?
We're gonna do a very extensive marketing campaign, and I think at orientation we're gonna notify students. We think it'll be interesting to see the adoption rate. We suspect it'll be pretty good. I think that the way we're envisioning this is really as a personal assistant as much as anything else. And this is your courses, your financial, your schedule, your grades, your academic standing. That kind of data would be in the my Lehman section, the notifications here, and a whole slew of other things in between. Blackboard Learn, we'll just go right out to the app. There is some integration we can do with Blackboard Learn.
So once the students download this app and they authenticate on their smartphone or whatever, do they have to log into these individual systems? Because I know that the process for logging into Blackboard and CUNY First are completely different. So.
That is really a key question. And what one of the tools we didn't get a chance to really talk too much about in our ecosystem is what we call Lehman One Connect, and it's our first stab at single sign-on. And there is a way within that to authenticate once, and you have all of your apps. You actually have to authenticate in them all, but they're in that one environment. That's part of the integration in the mobile app we're working on, is to see if we can leverage Lehman One access for you, because absolutely agree with that. I mean, that's very important. So the ideal scenario is, all this is really gonna be linking out to the responsive website. This goes to Blackboard Learn, the course schedule, we have feeds coming in. We didn't talk much about all the other things, the exciting things, because we have this ecosystem that this app is getting feeds, RSS, XML, all these feeds coming in. Yeah, go ahead.
I know we're getting to
Yeah,
time,
yeah,
and I have one burning question
Sure.
that I have to know. I can't understand, is this all one big, wonderful thing that's doing all of this, or is it different systems?
It's
that-
magical. You know what it is?
What is this?
Yeah, no, okay, so this is a great question, and this is this thing that was sort of suggesting, is this idea of we've got these shadow systems and silos all over the place. CUNY First is a silo, and it's running as a shadow system. So this is what we're trying to do, is aggregate all of these data sources.
So did you build something else?
Well, the key is a lot of these systems need to export data. That's the deal, right? They need to be able to push RSS or XML, and we get data extracts from CUNY First. We get a CSV file. This application basically interfaces with that CSV file. It can also interface with other data sources, a database or other things. When there's something new in one of the tables, the push notification goes out, or the data gets updated. The RSS feeds come from, like the academic calendar. We have a calendar section of our event management, and it generates an RSS feed. So the big things coming up, last day to drop ad, last day to register, all that is coming in, right? And that's the interesting thing too, is this push notification, we have different roles. This is an existing student role. We also have a future student and a visitor and alumni role. So we can actually push notifications out to them contextually. So a visitor might be interested in alumni events or arts events, or we'll figure out what that is. But those RSS feeds of those calendar events we could theoretically push. The open houses and information sessions would push to prospective student, future student. So yeah, it's interesting because I think to try to answer your question, this ends up being a mobile app ends up being, in a lot of ways, the best method for pulling all this data and content and feeds together in a frankly in a device that everybody's using and everybody's working on. The website works, all these different pieces work, but this is a way to really bring it all together in a unified manner. So
That's it. Thank you guys very, very much.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen,